How's it going? So we got our seeds here that we planted 6 days ago. Our tomatoes, our bell peppers, our cucumbers. And let's take this lid off. Come take a look. We have some tomatoes coming up here. Couple here. And then this row is our muncher cucumbers. And they're doing really good. So they're going to be pushing up a little bit of dirt. We're just going to pack that down a little bit. I'm going to spritz all these again. You see where it's getting dry. Got some dry spots. Let's go ahead and spritz it down. Not too much water. It's just, you know, we can keep it moist. We got the lid to keep it like a little greenhouse effect. But you see our first two cells, they're not doing too good. The next two are the black creme. They're coming up nicely. The next two cells, we got one sprout, we got two sprout. Those are the red cherries. The next two cells, rows of cells, aren't doing too good. They're not sprouting yet. We'll see what happens. But this next cells, tiny Tims. We got one little one right there. The bell peppers, they're going to take a couple weeks to sprout. Bell peppers always take a while to sprout. And then we have these going crazy. And that's our muncher cucumber. Now we got a little room left in our little greenhouse. We spritz them down. We're going to cover it back up. I'm going to put it in a safe spot. I've had them over here by the window because the temperature has dropped here in San Antonio the last couple nights. And then we'll put them back on the porch. They'll get a little bit of direct sunshine, maybe for 2 or 3 hours. That's it. And these are already about 1.5 inches tall. Once they get 2 inches, we're going to put them in the deeper cells. And there's a reason I start with these smaller cells, and I'm going to show you that in later videos. Especially the tomatoes. The tomatoes, basically what they do, they'll grow really long. They'll fold over. You got issues with that. With the smaller cells, we're going to let them grow long. We're going to take that little cell out and flip it over and kind of bend it over to where the leaves are just above the soil level into the next pot. And then as they grow longer, we're going to flip it over again into the next bigger pot to where the leaves are just above the soil level. And by that time, they'll be a month old, and they'll grow even longer. And by the time we put it into the garden, we'll bury it back to where the leaves are just above the soil level, and they'll be fine. The reason I do that is I've started tomatoes in like bigger cells, and they'll get this long and they'll bend over, they'll break off. At that point, their stems are so rigid that you can't bend them and finagle them. And when you go to plant them, when you go to flip them and plant them over in the soil to where their stem is just above the soil level, the stems are so rigid they'll just snap. So that's why we're doing it in smaller cells. So they grow a little bit, you bend them over into a bigger pot. They grow a little bit more, bend them over to a bigger pot. Grow a little bit more, yeah. You see what we're doing here. So we got the cucumbers. They're growing fine. We're going to do the same routine with the cucumbers. They're already inch tall. The stems are still really pliable. Let's take a look. The stems are really, they're still real pliable. Look, I can bend them over. And they don't snap. Because they're still real pliable. They're still real young. So, we're going to let them grow probably to the height of the lid. And then we're going to pop them out. Put them into a bigger pot. I'm going to show all this to you when I do it. It's going to make sense once I do it. But if I were just to let these grow, they would just keep going. The stems would become real flimsy and ship-shafty, and they're going to bend over and they're going to snap, or they're going to, this is how I do it. So that's how I'm showing you how I do it. But it's good. We got that. We're going to be working with these really soon. They're already an inch tall. We're going to let them grow a little bit more, and we're going to replant these into bigger pots. We got tomatoes starting to sprout. We're going to let them go. All right, we're gonna chart all this as we go along. Maybe this information will be helpful to you as you do your garden. This is how I do it. It seems to be successful. Put the lid back on here. Make a little greenhouse. Set this in a nice warm spot. Gets a little bit of sunlight. Don't put it out in your yard to where it's getting direct sunlight. Put it somewhere, if 1 or 2 hours a day it shines on this, that's fine. And